All right, so you are welcome to today's edition of Success Systems with Johnson. I am with the newly minted Dr. Sheung Dosumu. I will allow him to introduce himself so we'll get to know him before we dive deep into some of the questions we would have for him, where he's going to be sharing with us what has helped him to be this successful. So the floor is yours, Dr. Dosumu. Please let us know who is Dr. Sheung Dosumu.
Okay, Dosumulo Asheon Gabriel is my name. I was a doctor of physics. That's broad. So I had my PhD in radiation and health physics, and I'm a Nigerian. Just that for now.
All right, thank you.
So
I think that's fine. Can you walk me through your academic sojourn? I mean, I always like to have a background to people's success. So if you can, maybe from your primary school up to where you had your PhD, if you can run us through those milestones at the schools and when and how you got your milestone, that would be fantastic to know.
Okay, so I had my okay, let's start from the primary school. I attended the Lagos State Primary School, Oyewole Agege. Okay. is a government school. That was my primary school. Then from there, I moved to secondary school. High school was Lagos Baptist Secondary School, where I finished my SSC. Lagos Baptist Secondary School was in Agege, Lagos State also. Then from there, I had my national diploma in industrial maintenance engineering. Then I had just 2 years ND, national diploma. So I moved to University of Lagos to study physics, but applied physics with option in electronics. So I was not pleased. I wanted something more. So I wanted something more applying to health directly. So I still the same school, but I moved to the College of Medicine, which is not at the main campus. So I had masters in medical physics, where I worked with some cancer patients, even I had some clinical experience back during my MSc. Then I moved out of Lagos to study further, and I had my PhD in radiation and health physics, which is more like something broad, but not more medical focus or clinical focus like my MSc, which was medical physics. So I had PhD radiation and health physics at the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. So for now, I don't know if something else is coming up. So I think for now, that's just it.
That's fine. We'll get to a point where you are going to let me know or let everyone know what is going to be the application of what your research was about. We'll delve into that. We'll delve into that. Thank you. I mean, it's nice to know that. I mean, and just for the sake of our audience, I mean, Shinwa and I attended the same high school. I mean, yeah, a few years apart, but we went. I knew him back then at Lagos Baptist Secondary School, where I also graduated from my high school. So yeah, it's been a longer journey with Sheung. So just to get the ball rolling, when you look at success, either generally or specifically to your academics, what does success mean to you?
Well, success generally, it's just like it's like when you wear your clothes, it's when you wear the clothes rightly, that is success. Okay. But the opposite side of your clothes, there is a kind of a dual part of success. You can't have it all without having a taste of certain challenges. But success simply means overcoming the basic challenges or when you set out to achieve a goal. Success means giving all despite the challenges along the journey. So success is not giving up. Success is perseverance. Success is to be tenacious, to be consistent, to keep moving. And when you get there, you will know.
And that's the point there.
So
I think
that's just success for now.
You raised the point there, and I'm just going to touch on the first set of statements you made and the last statement you made right now. You said success is setting a goal and achieving the goal. And then you now said that when you get there, you will know. So that means that if you don't set a goal, you are likely just going to be beating about the bush. So to be successful, from your definition now, there must be a definite goal, and there must be that consistent pursuit of that goal until you achieve it. Now, talking about persistence and pursuit of your goal, I read from your posts after you finished your PhD about some of the challenges you went through before you eventually got your PhD. Can you let us know what are some of the challenges that are peculiar to your own journey to success?
Well, okay, success. Well, probably success for the PhD, but generally in life, there are several challenges and several obstacles, you know. And one thing about this is that I had some basic challenges right from childhood, you know. And one of the basic challenges was I didn't have actually mentor to groom me academically. So it was more like error and trial method. I never heard of physics that someone can just wake up one morning and say, oh, I want to study physics. I didn't even know there are different aspects of physics, like medical physics, like geophysics, like chemical physics, biophysics. And I have great guys doing fine photonic physics, even if physics of economics, econophysics, which apply certain basic principles of physics to predict and forecast probably markets and the whole thing. So the very first challenge was that there was no mentor. And I was just jumping from one aspect of, okay, let me see if this is going to work. So during high school, you know, there was no physics teacher. And I was like, wow. But it's government school, never physics teacher. And that worked back then was, okay, these are the required subjects that definitely I must have. I must pass to proceed. Then the challenge now came up with, okay, let's see if the reading aspect start forming a kind of a small group after school. I have some clique of friends that were reading together. So I had some friends that were reading together. We formed a kind of a clique. We're reading together after school. So that was number one challenge, the struggle to pass the SSC. And it was actually challenging. Then we were investing the little money. There was no even library to get latest books. So we're investing money to buy books at Ushudi back then. So any small money will rush down to Ushudi and get the latest books or calculation in physics. So from there, the struggle to pass JAM. Actually, I passed some JAM. I did like 5 JAM before I eventually gained admission to University of Lagos to study physics. But my very first option of course happened to be chemical engineering because I was properly groomed in chemistry. So I was like, oh, let's study chemical engineering. So I think that will be perfect. And again, I didn't know that it's possible to go out of Lagos to study. So I was like, oh, it has to be Lagos. I'm a Lagosian. So any school outside Lagos, and if it's not Unilag, then I don't think I'll be in for any other school. So again, the place of no proper mentoring or mentorship, you understand? So I didn't have that resources. Why? Because I grew up in an environment whereby people don't even go to school. You understand? So the ghetto of Yanokpaja, and my side is not even far from a place they call Abule Unigo. That anytime it happens like that, you see boys jumping here and there, throwing bottles and the whole thing. So I moved 5 jams. The very first one I passed, but I picked chemical engineering. And back when I was young, back then, there was nothing like post jam to give room for students who actually, put in all effort to pass. So you just see crazy scores. I kept wondering, how can somebody turn in 300 out of 400 in jam? They called jam back then. And you're presenting something like 240, 230 to study the same chemical engineering that Unilag just says cut off for 270. So I didn't even know that you can even change your course. I didn't even know. So it was challenging. So when there is no profit, the people actually suffer. So that was number one. Maybe after the secondary school challenge of no physics teacher, the number two challenge was having somebody to groom you like, oh, if it doesn't work this way, this is alternative. So again, I settled for Polytechnic, and mind you, I wanted, engineering. So I picked chemistry to study engineering instead of the regular physics. And I did industrial maintenance engineering. And the reason why I picked chemistry as one of the jam combination was like, there was option, it was open. So I did English, chemistry, math. So at the point of admission, they were like, you can't study chemistry and you say you can't do chemistry at JAM and you say you want to study industrial maintenance engineering, which was like a combination of electrical and mechanical. But the exam officer saw that there was a kind of a gap based on the information they put out there on JAM syllabus. So on JAM, who broke you? So I entered Yaba Tech, and 2 years, but I kept pushing and every time I stepped into Yaba Tech back then, I was like, no, Yaba Tech is a pathway to Unilag. No, Yaba Tech is actually not far from Unilag. Exactly. Every day, I kept saying, I'm not going to end my career here. So Yaba Tech is a pathway to University of Lagos. And again, I tried several. There was a time I even tried a jam down. The whole center was a special center. And I was, one or two guys were left behind. We were just left behind because we were using our head to do the thing that we know how to do, because we believe in doing things rightly and justly. So imagine a jam that was set for 3 hours. In 1 hour, virtually the whole center was deserted.
Wow.
And I looked right, left, there was no one, except just 2 other guys like me. I was like, oh, okay, let's keep applying the further maths and the physics. Let's see if this year we're going to get a 300, 400. But eventually, because of maybe mass examination and practice, so the very few saints were affected.
Exactly.
So that was just like probably my second time of writing jam. The very first one, I didn't actually hit a good score to gain admission into University of Lagos because of chemical engineering then was extremely very high. Yes. And the only criteria to gain admission was strictly jam. So the second one, special center. The third one again, I tried. I hit a very good score. This time around, Ahmad did it very well. I was like, yes, 280 thereabout. We are yet to go for chemical engineering. So then internal crisis in University of Lagos happened. And we were unable to gain admission that year. So I tried another jam the second year. So that was a particular window when Unilag actually combined two sets together. Okay. So I the second time, so I put in for Unilag. So there was no proper guidance. So it's like, why not try another school?
Another school.
So again, then it was now the time for post-jam. So that's 3, more like, okay, then at that point, we were told that we can't actually, we definitely have to just sit for one post-jam. even though you picked Unilag 2 times. Imagine the place of no guidance. So I would have had 2 options if I had picked something else at a
Different
year
school,
and the
yeah.
other year. So we did the post jam, and that was the very first Unilag post jam. I can recall vividly. So I hammered the post jam. You know, then I was almost done with my ND, National Diploma, 2 years at Yabate. So I hammered the post jam. There was this kind of satisfaction that, yes, this is the time to go Unilag. Here
Let's
I
go
come.
in.
Let's get there, you know. Then I go to it was a paper procedures then to check your results. When I checked my results, and then I picked the same chemical engineering. So when I checked the results, I saw English, it was over 20. I had 15 out of 20. I was like, yes, the sumo, this is the time. If English can be 15, then not chemistry, physics, math. So I got to chemistry column dash. I got to math column dash. I got to physics column dash. And imagine that year, because of post jam, the cutoff was actually 40.
Wow.
40, the aggregate. So if I could hit 15 in
English, you only 25 points.
I trust math, physics, chemistry.
Exactly.
After almost 2 years, then another setback. So I could not even go home that day. Then there was a place I sat down and I cried my eyes out and I slept off. We call it the amphitheater. And that was the beginning of saying, no, enough is enough. So I cried and I woke up like 2 hours later, not even waking up by myself. The mosquitoes at amphitheater woke me up. And I said, no, something must be done. Then I stood up. I said, I'm standing up to success. I'm standing up to greatness. Enough is enough. I'm breaking every barrier and every limitations. And that was it.
Wow.
So, and that was it.
Wow. That's a long journey.
It was.
A long
So
journey.
Unilag was smooth. But that same year, when I did another jam, I gained admission again. That same day, I got back to, because I was not staying with my parents at that time, I was staying back in Yabate. So that same week, I got back, I got admission, I got called, oh, check your admission, and I saw, oh, physics, yes, which was what I picked. Then something unimaginable happened. My mom died that same week.
Wow.
And my mom was more like the very breadwinner, because my dad retired before I even gained admission to, before I even finished my secondary school. So she was like the superwoman. And another challenge, another 4 years of mysteries, not even knowing what to come. So 4 years, and I had a kid brother who was just in junior high school. Then that was when I started teaching. I had to just sustain myself, and the 4 years of combining so many things. First class didn't come because I was extremely very divided. The very first thing is money to sustain myself and my kid brother in school. Then we know academics will always, you are smart, then I can do it. So but physics always involve giving all. It's not something you can do on part-time and say, oh, you want to come out top of the class. So there was a time even my prof then, Professor Chendo, was like, yeah, guy, you're first class resources, but you're not stable. And I disagree. I agree with him. So that was my journey through my first year and my BSc. So I came up with first degree. So my first degree, then my master's. Before my first degree, things started lighting up. So I started making cool money on the island, taking Cambridge classes and teaching Cambridge students. So it was fine. Then master's, I was on scholarship. Lagos State, Unilag gave me a kind of a teaching assistant scholarship.
That's
So
good.
that settles the bill. So it was more like on a chilling level. But even after masters, there was no job.
Mm.
So that was it. Then after masters, I moved on to PhD. No job yet. One of my very good mentor told me, why not move on? Apply for PhD even when there is no job. It was like breakthrough comes when you keep pushing.
Mm.
Breakthrough comes when you keep pushing. You break and move through. You can't just stay idle and expect breakthrough. And truly, immediately I applied for PhD, then the breakthrough started coming here and there. But the PhD itself was challenging. There was no funding.
Mm.
So I had to pay all through. In fact, I had series of challenges. Maybe we'll discuss about the
Yeah.
challenges of PhD
Yeah.
later because
Fantastic.
it's
I mean,
loaded. It's loaded.
that is, you had a lot of challenges to deal with right from high school up till your PhD, and you still persevered. And I think it kind of lined up with the definition you gave to success, in that there must be that perseverance and consistency in your approach, which is good. I mean, congratulations once again that you're able to break through despite the challenges. Now, here is now my question. I would like you to answer it as quickly as you can in this case.
Okay.
I went to Lagos Baptist Secondary School myself, and I know
Okay.
back then we had a very big challenge with physics, especially. We did not have physics teachers. And if you have physics teachers, they were just like how do I put it now? They are
Okay,
not like
supporting
real, yeah,
teacher, most
real
probably.
physics teachers. So we struggled. So if you had struggles having a good teacher in physics, how come you now say, okay, this same physics, I have to get it to the highest level? What is motivating you? What are your motivations, or what is your motivation to pursue physics up to obtaining a PhD?
Well, one thing is, it's good to commit your ways in the hands of God. So you say when you set out to do something, you just have to put the God factor. You can be intelligent, you can be there are different levels of achieving things. But when it comes to SQ, the spiritual quotient must be very active. So I was pursuing something that eventually, I thank God it didn't work. So the physics, I sat back and I was like, oh, I had a challenge when I was in high school, which was physics. Then now, after doing certain engineering, and I observed that, oh, this physics, I read certain article that with physics I can actually do a lot of things. So I set out to say, okay, since physics is just like a kind of it's broad. So with physics is so close to engineering. So I moved in, I said, okay, let me aspire to become a physicist and to give back also to help those that are struggling.
Okay.
And actually, so that was just it.
Now I get the motivation. Now let's now switch back to your PhD physics now.
All right.
I know, as a Nigerian myself, I
Okay.
understand that it can be very challenging to conduct original research in Nigeria. So how were you able to scale through doing your research and getting it out there in a way that will earn you a PhD? What did you do differently than other people that quit? How were you able? Because sometimes I feel for people that are doing researches in Nigeria, I know it can be very challenging. So what did you do differently that helped you with your research? So the second part of my question will now be that, what are the practical application of your PhD research?
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll tell you, I submitted like almost 4 proposals for PhD. So my supervisor turned it down. Virtually all 4.
Wow.
Said 3 were not original. I was like, okay. if I'm going to work with the resources available, I don't think I can do something supernatural with not doing something. So the other one I submitted, which my supervisor was like, is not comfortable with it. It happens to be, it's actually original, and that proposal actually got me a kind of something like a scholarship, which eventually did not work out at ICTP, which involved a Monte Carlo simulation with of radiotherapy machine treatments, ED, that's what we call LINAC. So my supervisor was very cool with the topic, but he was not comfortable because he happened to be, there's one word we call Agbao that does not actually want to stress himself beyond something that is, if it's not computational, it's not.
Okay.
It doesn't, if it's not computational, it doesn't, if it is computational, rather, it doesn't want to go into that. Then he kept discussing, why not look at radon? Radon. I was like, okay, radon. So radon is actually a radioactive gas, and is actually a gas that is the only gas in the decay series of uranium or thorium that is radioactive. So I was like, oh, work on radon. Let's apply radon and see what we can do with radon. And I was like, okay, though several works had been done on radon. So I now had to apply it. Okay, let's see the major geological faults in Nigeria, which was a kind of a fault, we call it geological fault, more like an opening within the earth crust that brings out more like an opening that gives room for radiations, basically radon, to evolve or to come out from that opening. So he said, okay, let's look at radon. Then I was like, okay, no problem. Then based on my foundation, on my background, which is anything else or radiotherapy, so I wanted to look at, okay, the cancer effects of radon to a particular region. Then was like, okay, let's do that. It's fine. Then he brought in some of his friends who are in geology. I was supervised by 4 professors.
Wow.
I had another supervisor who is also a geophysicist. They said, let's do something groundbreaking and, something big. So that was how I was able to use, I did radon analysis, but it's now cut across geophysics and even medical geology.
Wow.
So it was actually original, you understand, because I input so many things that were not even involved in the world of radon analysis.
So if you are to look at the application of what you have found in your research, what would you say that those areas of applications would be? I know maybe for sure in the treatment of cancer might be one of them. Is that the only thing we can use your research results to solve?
Actually, radon actually not is one of the, actually is, let's say, is the number 1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers.
Oh, okay.
So radon doesn't cure cancer. It's actually one of the major causes of cancer.
Good.
So the application, number 1, we're able to do more like a general assessment of radon in water, radon in air along a geological faults. Then again, from the analysis, we're able also to predict, because that time there was a lot of air tremor in southwestern Nigeria.
Wow.
So from my data, we're also able to predict the activeness of the geological faults in southwest. So from there, we're able to come up with a calculation, and whereby we can also say, okay, to predict, you understand, to predict the strength and the activeness of the geological faults and the possible hazard that can come from the activeness of that fault.
Wow.
So it's very, very relevant, and it's something that it's applicable.
Fantastic. So I would assume that it is one area you might likely continue your research on down the line. Well, or are you thinking of something different? Because I know that maybe for our viewers, well, I know you guys, you don't call it professor, you are a lecturer in the university in Nigeria. So I mean, is that going to be your research area, or are you looking at a different aspect of physics by the time you set up your lab to start doing your research?
Okay, well, I actually, for now, I've done so much, conducted a lot of research when it comes to radon, and I am picking just a fraction for now.
Okay.
And a fraction is more of environmental radiation, and the major focus is on radon because it's something that we need to work more, probably even the detecting, the devices that we can use to for active detecting the presence of radon, and to work on how to reduce radon exposure. So
Okay.
for now, I'm very much into radon, but I'm also very open for more of clinical or clinical medical physics, because I had my MSc in
In
clinical physics,
clinical physics.
which is medical physics, and also I'm still more into clinical medical physics. And of recent, I had a certification by AAPM, so in US, so which is more like a continuous training for medical physicists.
Well, I mean,
So
go. I want to stay on that point of collaboration. I don't know how much of exposure are there for Nigerian researchers to collaborate with other researchers across the globe, maybe Canada, US, Germany. Is this something that you would be interested in being involved with? I'm asking because I know that cancer is one of the leading causes of death across the world, and till now, uh, they've only been able to manage it. They've not been able to find any cure for it. So, if there's a way, like your work now is looking at how to assess and prevent and predict the exposure to radon, which is cancerous to the body. So, how smooth or how much of collaboration do you think exists, or do you think you would look forward to having with other researchers across the globe that are either working directly in your area or in similar area to yours?
all right. Well, actually, cancer thing is rampant even in Africa. We got Nigeria especially. We have a lot of cancer cases. I can tell you it's crazy, and it's challenging. And again, with the survival rate is always very. Uh, Most of the treatment in Nigeria is always a kind of palliative. And why? Because the awareness is not there. People even report it when it's at the extreme stage. And you now talk about a country, Nigeria, where the whole the machines available for treatment is not even up to 5 nationwide. When you can talk about Boston in US that have even radiotherapy machines for dogs, more than 7. So in Nigeria, and we have a population of over 200, and that is not the goal. That is not the main focus. WHO has a kind of a set, maybe probably 100,000 per machine at least, or even 10,000 per machine for a radiotherapy machine. So we are coming up, and the National Association of Medical Physicists, Nigerian Association of Medical Physicists, is also collaborating, but the progress is very slow. It's not there yet. It's not there
But I
yet.
think where I'm getting at is this. So most of the times I know that when we look at organization or university, or let's say association or the country, we may have to wait for a long time to get things done. So I'm talking about
Yeah, that's true.
on a personal level
On
or
a
at the
personal, okay.
university level, so at the departmental level, on a personal level, how much of collaboration do you think exists, or do you think you would like to see where there can be exchange of ideas, there can be exchange of research, there'll be collaboration in terms of researches that you guys that have been done in your area, I just don't know how much you are into that, and that is what I was trying to get.
Yeah, okay. Well, the collaboration we are trying locally, but I know ICTP, International Center for Theoretical Physics, is actually trying as much as possible to train, but nationwide, worldwide, there is no grants like before. So it's challenging. So, but I think what the physicists in Nigeria can do is to think locally before we think. Let's think globally and act locally. So create a kind of a perfect bond whereby there is a proper grooming, or probably even work more on the curriculum. Then from there we can now look at, it's not something an individual can push. It's big. It's not
Yeah,
something an individual can
and
push.
I mean, I quite agree with you. And I want to take you back to one of the statements you made when you are rounding up the answer to the question I asked earlier about the fact that one of the reasons why you went into physics was to give back because of what you went through when you were in high school. So now,
Mm.
I have been hearing over the internet and sometimes from people that education is a scam. Uh, from your own perspective, as somebody who had gone through the whole spectrum of education trajectory, and as somebody who is currently in the university teaching, what would be your own assessment of now? And this is the way I would like you to answer this question. What would be your own assessment of students during your days in high school and during your bachelor's compared to now that you are now a teacher in the university?
Hmm. I will tell you, the competition is not there like the way it was back in the days. And we now we have a society who doesn't even value knowledge. You understand? So it's actually challenging. And the number of people who come out and say education is scam, uh, is increasing on a daily basis. Why? Because when you see an average professor cannot even take care of himself, not to talk of taking care of his immediate family. So the resources are actually not there. So, and when they see someone who is actually into business of buying and selling and is actually even doing very fine, they'll be like, so why school in the first place? So to them, education is a scam. But education is not a scam. Education is the sound legacy a parent can give, or someone can have also. So it is actually not a scam, but we find ourselves in a society whereby even when you do research, the quality, a solid research is not even appreciated. So it's challenging. It's a kind of a cancer that is spreading among the youth now.
Now, and I think you one of the things you mentioned earlier was that when you were growing up, there was no mentor to guide you through your path. I just hope that people around you seeing how successful you have become, despite your challenges and background, will be able to see that indeed education is not a scam. You can actually make a good life. You can actually live a good life by going through and earning degrees for yourself. I hope people will be able to see that. And I guess that is one of the reasons why you share some of your experiences and even doing that right now on this call to let people know that, yes, it is actually not gloom and doom for people that went to school. You can make a good life out of your education. I guess I'm speaking your mind.
Yeah, a lot of people who I had mentored, my mentees, they can testify to that. So I education is not a scam. The main thing is just very open to knowledge. Meet people who can groom you positively in the right direction, so that you will not have to struggle here and there to actually gain your feet. So education is not a scam. It is not.
Fantastic.
It's never. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, given your experiences so far, and we are going to be wrapping up very soon with this call, given your experiences so far, and looking back at your life, looking at where you are right now,
Okay.
if there are if you are to talk to your younger self, what would you tell your younger self? What would you have done differently? And yeah, I think the question will be that, okay, yeah, maybe looking at the mirror and looking at a 20-year-old Dosumu, looking at a 50-year-old Sheun Dosumu, what would you tell him?
Well, very simple. The main thing I'll do is I'll seek counsels. So imagine just seek counsels. You can't do it all alone. You can't be an island of knowledge. You can't. So even though you don't have people around you, but you can actually speak out and meet people. They will guide you. So one of the things I did wrongly was to walk through it alone. So it was actually challenging. So if I want to do it differently, I will just study physics from the beginning.
Yeah, instead of wasting 5 good years.
5 good years, right?
Pursuing chemical engineering.
Physics would have given me a very good platform right from the beginning. So seek counsels, and that will help.
And I hope people like yourself and another successful people can also speak with our youth and co back home. And this is where I'm going to. Growing up from a not so fantastic family background, physics or chemistry or biology, all those single science courses will never be enticed. You can never tell. I remember I got admission. I was going to be offered admission in FUTA. It's going to be given physics and electronics. My dad told me, what would you do with that? That was what he asked. So I was like, there's no future for that. It is either engineering or not, So I think physics, chemistry, biology, and co are not like a very popular subject because people don't know what can be done with it, with those subjects.
Yeah.
People don't know that there are different areas to physics, there are different areas in chemistry, there are different areas in biology. And I just hope that people like yourself and other people that are in that basic sciences will be able to see that it's not just basic science. There are also applied form of these subjects like physics and biology, because that is some of the challenges that a lot of high school students are having when they are beginning to choose their career path.
So it's actually pure sciences will not fail. But we all wanted engineering. We all wanted to make it big time. When you study engineering, medicine, that kind of thing, like, oh, it's going to give you a kind of a direct breakthrough when you are done. But again, pure sciences won't fail. But it depends on what will I say? Now the trend is now computer science. So we have a lot of students rushing here into studying computer science here and there. But when you have a proper a good academic mentor, it will actually guide you that, you can even still navigate your way or path into whatever you want to become, but make that move first. Make that move first. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So make that move first.
And I think one of the things I'm going to drop here before I ask maybe the last 2 questions I have is that,
okay,
all of these subjects are kind of interconnected. Sure. In the part of the world where I live, you cannot separate electrical engineering from computer science. In fact, a lot of the departments are computer science and electrical engineering. So they are combined in a way. I have seen, even there's this a friend of an alumnus of Labasco who studied physics in LASU. Studied physics in LASU, did in fact, it was physics education he did in LASU. And then he went to the UK. I think he went to Queen's University, did is it molecular physics he did? And then he went to
biophysics.
Then he went to Germany. He went to Germany at Hamburg University to do particle physics. He currently works as a programmer with this Fisher Scientific or something like that. That's what they call them. It's into numerical programming, and so there is no way you can separate a physicist to a certain extent from computer science, because the knowledge you guys come up with are what the computer guys are using. Whatever they make in the chips that they make, they need you guys. Solid physics, they need you guys. So I think we need to begin to think beyond seeing all of these basic sciences, because they are as not just being competitive. They are. I have a friend who studied chemistry in Nigeria for his bachelor's and had a PhD in organic chemistry. He currently works as a material science manager in one of the biggest companies that deals with environmental chemistry. So it's looking at that area, something that you can actually diverge and divert your expertise into different areas. So people should not look down on physics, on chemistry, on biology. You can delve into anything down the line that will still, like you said, that will still make you achieve your goal eventually. So yeah, that was one mistake that I made back then. It took some years off me, because my dad just told me no physics, electronics.
If it's not engineering, it's not
electronics.
Engineering.
No, so anyways, now
all right,
with your PhD, it's done now. It's in the pocket.
Okay.
And I know you are also teaching. For the benefit of those that are watching us, if you are to advise or talk to somebody who is going through what you had gone through. Now, I understand. I know Yanapaja very well. I live in Ukyodu, not too far from Yanapaja.
Not too far from Yanapaja.
And I know what can be when you live in those areas. They're like ghetto. I mean, you have to be smart, to be street smart to live in those areas. But if there is somebody right now that is living in Yanapaja or living in anywhere ghetto and living on the backside of the city and thinking to himself, when will I also break through? When will I also be able to achieve something with my life? In few sentences or few minutes, what would you tell such person?
All right. So life is full of bends. I always say this. But the moment you remove the B from bend, that is the end. And the B in the word bend means believe in God, believe in the process, believe in yourself. So once you stop believing, that is the end. So it's more like I believe in that principle that I learned back in secondary school from Mr. Sani, a music teacher. He said, "Poco a poco, little by little. Yeah. Take a step and always constantly ensure that you are making an upward movement at every time." So it is possible to be stagnant and don't find yourself in that set. And it's also possible to be moving in a circle. And that is even more dangerous than being stagnant. So make forward progress. No matter how little it is, always ensure you are making that progress. So it will surely come. It's not compulsory you climb through the barrier. You can also tunnel through the barrier using principle of quantum physics. So, but whatever you do, a step at a time in the right direction, and one day you will get there.
Wow, that is fantastic. So if you are going through any challenges right now, if you are facing any challenge, Dr. Dosuma has just mentioned to you that keep at it, don't quit, keep going. It is just a bend. It is not an end. Keep going.
Just a bend.
And very soon, probably you're going to be in the seat of Dr. Dosuma, and I'm going to be interviewing you, sharing your success story. So, Dr. Domu, this one is going to be a very very funny question. I know you are Goshen. Is your own Dosumu related to the Dosumu in Ireland in what they call it? Okay, is it okay? What they call it now? The Dosumu of the Oba Dosumu of Lagos. Yeah, is your own Dosumu?
The Oba Dosumu of Lagos. Actually, Well, I don't know much about the family history.
Okay.
So, but I know there are several Dosumus, I think about 3 different families or so that are buried Dosumu on the island. But one is from the ruling family.
Okay.
My Dosumu is not from the ruling family.
Oh,
My
okay.
Dosumu is the one
Okay.
at Idumagbo
Okay.
area of Lagos. But
Okay,
I'm
Mabu.
a Lagosian. So, but again, Idumagbo. And again, I think from history, I'm an Awori man, an Awori in Lagos Island. So,
Okay. Okay.
so in
Fantastic.
short, all right.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Any final word for our listener as we draw the curtain for this interview? Any final words?
Well, simple. It's don't stop, but stop at the top.
Don't stop,
But
but
stop at
stop
the
at the
top.
top.
But when I get to the top and there is a top or a bigger top, then you still keep moving.
Keep moving. Wow.
And that's the S in the word stop. You know, people stop when they are saturated. So, but when you remove S from stop, you have stop. So if you are not at the top, then you don't stop.
Wow. Wow. Fantastic. It's been nice having conversation with you, Dr. Dosumu. And
Thank
I
you
hope
so much.
our listeners have picked 1 or 2 things that can help them also to navigate through their life and become successful. And until next time, guys, I would see you next time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.